to another episode of The Legacy Holders, a special edition. We're out here in New Orleans at Mardi Gras celebrating. Finally, you get to have Keisha online, one of our legacy holders, and we're going to get her caught up on some of the topics we talked about and get her perspective on some things. So, Keisha, you want to do a little introduction of yourself, or we just going to roll with it?
We just gonna roll.
All right, now. So, you've probably been watching the YouTube channel about a few episodes that we uploaded, and two pretty much stood out to a lot of folks. Pause. On the side, we have a special friend. We're just gonna hear her voice and get her opinion on some things. You don't want to be on camera, but it's cool.
We respect it.
So, looking at the views on YouTube, one of the videos outside of the original one, our first, spinoff where we introduced ourselves, kind of went in about redefining the village, understanding what we need right now in order for our kids, our legacy keepers, to keep this thing going on, right? I think if you could see the side person on the side, she has a village that she would have to keep going from her legacy perspective. I have a village that I need to keep going from mine, and same as you. What is your opinion on the village and how we were raised, and then like how our kids are being raised now? Like, I say redefine it, because we can't go back to it, because it's not the same anymore. Like, grandmas aren't the same grandmas anymore.
Right.
Kids aren't the same. We have things like technology that's introduced into our kids' lives. Times are just different. So what does redefining the village look like for you?
Redefining the village. This topic leads to breaking generational curses. This topic leads to redefining life goals outside of the normal 9-to-5 work venture, as far as boundaries being broken, as far as grudges being broken, and just becoming more close-knit. At the same time, carrying on spiritual, traditional ways. It means a lot to redefine. I don't even know how you can go in depth with that without saying too much. So I'm gonna start with, I'm gonna double back to breaking generational curses, right? So what does that mean? That means breaking the norms of the 9-to-5 and learning about investing. That means higher standards, academically, emotionally, socially. That means breaking grudges, with family members, like reuniting, more of a sense of togetherness.
I think the last thing you said, like spiritual growth, that's something that's lost now, with the grandmas and the grandpas not being grandmas and grandpas anymore. Like, they are really not there. And I know I lived in church when I was younger, right? I joke around with my kids, and it shouldn't be funny, but they was like, why we don't go to church? And I'm like, I feel like I got extra credit because of how much time I spent in church, being the granddaughter of a preacher, and we were in church. Like, I don't remember a day when I wasn't in church. And looking back, not realizing that instrument, like, grounded me on a lot of things, the mannerism, the being intentional with the things you do. There was just certain things we learned in church that you just, obedience, like, literally, you learned obedience in a natural obedience. Like, it just came as a natural instinct there, and it's something that's lost. Granted, we can say because of how the churches have changed also. Church is not church anymore either. So
it's a big topic.
That's something else to sit there and, kind of feed off of. Are we going to give you a code name or what's your opinion?
I would agree. Breaking curses. I don't know. I think there should be a line in the fact that reuniting, because some things I don't think you can go back from. Like that literally happened to me a week ago, where I was cut off. Then I did my online service, and literally it was put back in my face what was broken away.
Oh, wow.
So, yes, don't hold a grudge. But I think spiritually, being in the church, you can let go of a grudge, but you don't have to have that relationship anymore.
Right.
So, I wouldn't, let the grudge go, but I don't have to reunite with you. I can be cordial. I can be this, but then that goes back to breaking generational curses. I don't have to be what you were anymore.
Right.
So that's my opinion.
That makes sense. Of course. And that's groundbreaking. Allowing our children to make their own decisions, but they still have discernment, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And discernment comes from the Word of God.
Yeah.
Right? So that can be instilled with or without the church.
Sure.
Because the church is very important, but it's also a choice. Okay. People get saved on their own time. And then what you were saying about truly depending on the circumstance,
right,
how delicate the circumstance is, But when I was talking about reuniting, I'm talking about family reunions.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yes.
That's what I was referring to, like, getting together more than 5 times.
Yes.
I mean, more than
a funeral.
Every 5 years.
Or at a funeral. You
right.
See more for a funeral.
Right. So, every 5 years is like sporadic, but when you gain consistency, like every 2 years, it's a big change from that, you know?
Yeah.
And then,
I'll agree with that.
Yeah. So just reconnecting and redefining, as you said, like financially, spiritual growth, you know what I mean? As far as just instilling, besides the Word of God, instilling what my grandmother is now my ancestor, so I'm going to say my ancestors, but my ancestors have, instilled in me. I was raised by my mother and my grandmother.
I think you just want to add more tools to your kids' toolbox. And then they add more to their toolbox for their children, and more, financially. I wasn't taught anything about finances. I was in the church with my granny
That's fine.
With my granny every Sunday. And now I'm going back to church, trying to get my kids to go, whatever. Yeah. But I think, just putting another tool in their toolbox so that they can carry on. I learned this from my ancestor, or from my mother or my grandmother.
Right.
So I think that is how you can continue to leave the legacy. Always teaching them, just always put something in your toolbox, so you can pass on to somebody else.
Right. And that makes sense because, lineages and family roots run deep.
You do.
And I feel like it's purposeful, to have that ground definition. You need that base to comprehend where you're going, to know thyself. I am that I am that I am.
Okay, so we kind of blended into another episode where I spoke to two of my legacy keepers, my stepson. And I always say full disclosure, I'm not married to his dad anymore, but he's still my son, my bonus son, stepson, however you want to take it, and my daughter. And it's a conversation of how do you feel I'm doing as a parent, right? So I think we kind of pivoted on that a little bit. But am I giving you everything that you need in order for you to have a successful village? My baby girl told me no. Like, because of those broken relationships, it puts her in a situation to where her relationships are kind of rocky with something. So I have some growth. I have some intentional conversations I need to have with people because my child's village isn't full the way, or secure, right?
Yeah.
The way she feels it should be because of adult things and how they end up affecting the kids, right? So what would your legacy keepers say about you and the tools that you put into the box for them, and how would, constructive criticism about parenting?
Okay.
That's literally what it is. I mean, I think us as adults, it's like you're a child, do as I say, not as I do. Be the kid, like don't question me. But sometimes we need them to question us because we're not doing this right. But I'm not saying we're not doing this right, but we don't know what we don't know all the time. And schooling is different from the way we went to school. Like we were taught to go to school, hide under a desk, and for a hurricane. Now these kids, hey, you want a bulletproof book bag? Things are just, hey, we go through metal detectors. Like it is completely different than how we were growing up. So are we doing the best we can for our legacy keepers as parents? And are we able to accept the fact if we are?
We are doing our very best. As a matter of fact, I would like to
This is my
state for the
sunshine.
record that we are over the top in all that we do. Okay? And the fact that our children may feel one way, they value another. And what they value holds more weight and precedence than what they feel, Because in the moment, of course, they're going to speak out of their emotion.
It's temporary.
Yeah, that's all it is.
A
But
feeling.
when we lay down the law and when we say, I know that you know, they don't have no more to say. Some things just are uncontested. You know what I'm saying? Because we show up.
We sure do.
And we pay the bills.
We be showing up.
And we do this and that and this and that.
We bring a knife to a gunfight.
Trust.
Yep.
They are more than grateful. I know, for example, I'm always questioning my children's gratefulness.
Okay.
So the fact that, one of the things that we do to prove their gratefulness is we pray together.
Okay.
It's not often because our schedules are different, but we go through scriptures together that are applicable to our lives, our current situations, our growths, our needs. So, and those moments are what needs to hold weight compared to how they feel and what they want, because we hear that more than enough.
True.
I want, and I feel.
I want a lot of things too.
Yeah, okay. So, in the outcome, in the long run, their success becomes a part of our evolution.
All right. So, we got 2 boxes, tools to put in. We got religion. One of the biggest conversations that's brought up a lot, we've recorded several shows on, is the love portion of Love and Legacy.
Okay. Oof. I'm getting hot. That's a hot topic. Wait,
and it is.
Get a fan.
It is because we don't realize the people that we choose to fall in love with and the footprint that they leave upon in our legacy.
Ooh, girl, you done hit a high note.
So it goes into the next episode I think we recorded. those undefined expectations in relationships, because these are how the footprints are laid and within your relationship. Undefined expectations. We're talking about gender roles. We're talking about let me see what came up. What is a 1% man? What is a 1% female? Right? Woman. Right? What characteristics do you have to be a 1%er in a relationship? Right? So the conversation with this gentleman was the man provides, like the wife doesn't have to work. She sits at home. He takes care of everything even when he's not there. Now, the person who had developed this concept of the 1% into this podcast is military. So in his opinion, he considers himself a top 1% because even when he's gone, when he's deployed, he's checking all the boxes of how to take care of his wife when he's not there. But you can't control life. Like, I was like, so what if you're gone and she has a flat tire? Oh, I got that taken care of. I'm like, how is that possible?
Yeah.
And I gave a scenario to where I was dating a person who was
put his
owning
brother on speed dial.
I gave a scenario to where I was dating a person and they were 3 hours away and I got a flat tire when I came out of work.
Yeah.
The last person I was going to call was him, because what are you going to do for me 3 hours away, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that didn't make him a 1% man, but what I'm saying is to say that because you had AAA on standby for me, like that makes you top 1%. Like Rossi, the other legacy holder, she said 1% doesn't exist. It really doesn't. This is this make-believe. She said that if you call yourself a 1%, you're a narcissist, right? You are controlling. And
I can see that.
Okay, so
I can see that.
And the top 1% like make over 6 figures. They're educated. They're this and that. But I've dated people who made over 6 figures. They're educated. They have damn good jobs, like and they're assholes, right?
Yeah.
Literally, they are not. They are. The emotional intelligence isn't there. People have past trauma that they are dealing with, right? And it doesn't make you a 1%. I feel like it makes you human, right? So how are we walking into relationships intentionally, right? So our invisible guest on the side has been married to an amazing man, you know what I'm saying? And but what I'm saying is those intentional,
beautiful couple, how many years?
Yeah, I know.
I know.
But those intentional
18.
things, like exactly, you know, we're gonna celebrate that. But there was some unspoken things that either did you have those conversations, or were you guys mature enough, or did life just life and you ended up just saying, hey, we gotta figure this out?
I think
without getting too personal,
everything is mutual.
Yeah.
There are some things that I don't do if he's there. If he's not there, obviously I have to do it. But for the most part, there are things that I don't do. Not because I refuse to do them, is because it's just I'm not going to say not allowed to do them, but you don't have to do that.
But was that spoken or unspoken? Like from the gate, is it something when he was like, well, I'm going to walk in like, hey, you don't ever take the trash out. Like, I got that, right? But if I'm deployed, you got to take the trash out.
I think it was both, honestly. Like, maybe it was just unspoken. Like, it was just a natural thing. But then he had a great foundation. So that foundation came over.
So his legacy passed on.
Right.
To...
So I think he had a very bad previous marriage. And that was definitely something that we had to work through. But it was a joint thing, you know. We had to work through it, figure it out.
Okay.
Like, were there times that he probably wanted to throw the towel in, I want to throw the towel in? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, it was like, all right, listen. One of us gonna die. before we get out of this.
Listen,
You know, like, and his foundation was so strong that even in his first marriage, he didn't have to get the approval, but didn't want to disappoint his parents. It was his parents who encouraged him because he wouldn't have endured it.
Okay.
That is how loyal he is.
Right.
But that's because
of his foundation.
of
Yes.
his foundation. Me, broken completely. So it's crazy because it's opposite.
Mhm.
You know, you would think the man is broken. You would think that, you know, he is the one that comes from a broken home and all that stuff, which no, it was me. I will admit it. It was me all day. I have my issues.
Right.
So the question is, how does he deal with it?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
But I mean, after 18 years, you just got to talk it out and figure it out and know each other. Hey, this, and this. Breaking generational curses. Talking about the situation.
Correct.
Understanding your partner. Understanding what triggers them, what doesn't trigger them. What, you know, well, first of all, I'm automatically triggered by everything. So
I think
What did
I
you-
love.
Touche.
what did you call me?
In
A
admi-
fireball?
A
Fireball.
fireball.
Yes, just
Because
spicy, caliente.
My total admiration from this one trip is you two have a communication
Yeah.
system, and it's
It's
like,
amazing.
It was
yeah,
never easy.
I have to say that,
But-
and your reciprocity, the way you two compliment each other.
Yes.
You know,
Do it well.
he's constantly checking on you, like
Yes.
making sure you watch your step on the curve.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Chivalry.
Yes.
So,
All right, I'll keep
Let's-
it for 2 more years.
okay. So let's talk about,
That's your person.
okay, let's talk
Mm.
about the brokenness of, and this is just our perspective, not on your personal note, but somebody in a relationship is going to be broken, right?
Right.
So let's say that broken person, and we'll just talk about both sides.
Yeah, because
How-
everybody has baggage.
Everybody does. So how do you, how as the broken person, if you don't learn to be
You have to be,
situational aware
you have
of,
to be aware of that. You have to really check yourself. You know, he was not, his foundation, he did not come from a broken foundation. He was broken because of a previous relationship.
correct. So
You know what I mean? So I had to knowingly go in and be like, okay, I have to be very careful and conscious of what he's going through or what he went through. He never knew me. And gosh, it was a long time. But I always suppressed what I think women can do that
Yeah.
better. Just
Correct.
like,
For sure.
you
they
know,
can.
it wasn't until I had my kids that I said, okay. So then I went to school for psychology because how do I break those generational curses? How do I not bring my baggage over
Bring it.
into not just my wife role, but my mother role? So I
You
think-
gotta unpack it.
you have to unpack it. You have to take accountability, really.
That's the unpacking.
You know, understand who you are, what's happened, that this shit wasn't right, what you did, seen, went through,
Okay.
and then say, okay, all right, we'll figure this out.
Yeah.
But I have to fix me. So I think we kind of just, I don't know, it just
Compromise.
went together.
There's less of a compromise and more of a mutual agreement, like you said.
Yeah.
Because you did say mutual agreement.
Yeah. You can
And a
agree to
lot of-
disagree.
Right, and a lot of relationships are not mutual relationships.
Yeah.
You know?
And
Yeah.
even scientifically, all the other relationships are toxic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mutual is the only give and take. And according to American Psychology Today, give and take and tick for tack is extremely healthy. You know,
Yeah.
To what
Yeah.
point? To what give and take? I'm gonna play devil's advocate on it. Give and take on
Okay.
what? I've been in some relationships where it was give and take, right? Some people taking a whole lot. Like what is that? What is that balance? Like give and take.
Reciprocity.
But into
One cannot outweigh the other. So
to what extent? You think that this is my
Right.
perspective, and that's
Mhm.
where it comes in
I-
with the give and
I
take.
think once it starts affecting you health, whether it's mental, physical, then I think it's time to check
Oh.
yourself.
amen.
Okay.
Hey,
You know
I
what
like
I'm
that.
saying?
Yes.
Okay.
That was a good
I
answer.
mean, you can give and give and give,
Mhm.
but once it starts messing with your health,
Yes.
But what if it's not messing with your health? What if it's you're just
then
giving?
you have not reached your point.
Right. Your breaking point.
You have not
But
reached
maybe
your
it's
point.
not really supposed to be a breaking point. We're just talking about relationships and
Of
give and taking,
course,
right?
yeah.
But it's just a perspective, and it could be a healthy, uneven balance to one person, right? So let's get personal with me. I gave, right? The only thing I wanted this person to do was acknowledge me for who I am, a name, right?
But you reached your breaking.
I don't.
I think that was a miscommunication.
And that's literally what it was. It was literally
So maybe it wasn't you. It was
that
them.
person might have reached their breaking point. So, but that's what I mean by the give and take thing. Like the people who are takers, and not saying takers like from a materialistic
Right.
point, but from an emotional. I'm going to take away her, and I'm going to use the word worth because that was the word that triggered a lot of things,
Right.
right? I'm going to take away from her worth, and I'm going to keep taking away time and taking away the fact that I'm not going to acknowledge her like that, right? The takers in this give and take thing. How do we address that when it's something that's not?
Oh, honey, the takers are the parasites.
But
We're gonna
what I'm
just
saying in this
we're gonna come to
situation,
terms with that.
but
right?
in this situation, it wasn't anything that would have
But
been emotionally.
But was it?
It was a conversation that just happened to have happened on a fluke. It wasn't even. I would have never known until something was said. You get what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
I'm not in the room. So until something was said,
Right.
and then the conversation was, "Why you don't call me by my name?
Right.
Why would you take that moment from me when the roles are
Right,
reversed as
right.
a giver? I give you that platform.
Right.
Everybody knows who you are, right? So that give and take relationship, maybe at that moment I might have hit my point, but before I knew that was even a thing, to me, I wasn't at a point. So how do
Maybe-
we acknowledge those takers who don't even realize that what they're taking means a whole
Well,
lot
you're
more?
not gonna know they're a taker until you realize they're taking from you. Until you get to a point where you're like, dang, this motherfucker taking from me. And I didn't realize that. So then once you realize it, it's like, whoa, now mentally, you're at your point.
And you know what else? When you align yourself with your 1% definition, and everybody has a different 1% definition,
Yes.
right? For yourself and that person. So being aligned means no compromises. Because I've already spoke on this and you still choose to do this.
Okay.
Right? So we don't compromise respect in relationships because then it becomes toxic. Right?
Preach. I'm
And
with you.
So, and then in addition to that, the definition for me for 1%, right, would include particular aspects like spirituality, culture, education, So not on my education level, but almost there,
Okay.
right? Um, Culturally, I'm referring to not even like historically, just like the whole struggle. Like, cause I love me a Che Guevara, right? So we talking about the whole overall picture,
Yeah.
like unity, things and such like that, right? Emotional well-being, um, finances should never be compromised.
Let's talk about that real quick.
Not a one
Okay,
time.
let's talk about a
And
finance.
I am a living testimony of that.
So let's talk about finance real quick in relationships nowadays.
Yes.
This current environment, right? I have females, I have males. Everybody has a different point of view on it. But my marriage, everything's 50%. I didn't have a problem with paying, and my friends tell me I'm stupid for paying 50% of everything. But then I also looked at some of my friends who said I was stupid, and then when their husband left them, they didn't have an idea to hold the house down. And to me, whenever I decided to walk away, I needed 935.48. That's what I held my whole house down. I only had to figure out where I was going to get 935.48, right? So to me, 50% allowed me to step into a zone to where if I had to pull the weight, I knew I was capable of. If my husband could have. The 935.48.
I just gotta get one.
Stop. Nothing. I knew it down to the T. You know what I'm saying? And it made me, I was like, okay, wasn't a bad thing. What I'm saying is, I knew women where their husbands passed away and they was like, I don't know what the life insurance policy is. I don't know how much the light bill is. I don't know what bank he was using. I got a little allowance he put to me. I don't know. I said I would never be in that situation.
Right.
Never. I dated a man, had kids by him, and I let him handle everything, and it was a shit show, right? I said I would never put myself in that situation ever again, right? So when I got married, I was like, all right, cool, 50%. I'm good with that.
Right,
because I want to make sure I'm able, I had 2 kids, not by my husband at the time, that I needed to make sure I was able to provide for no matter what. So I needed to pull my weight. And I always felt like anything could happen in life. He could not work. He could not this, he could not that. Am I able to sustain a lifestyle to keep my kids comfortable? I've always said that when I got my kids back, I never wanted to have to move them from their sense of comfortability that I built because I wasn't situationally aware. Or even if I didn't have to pay the bills, I think I would have said, while I'm working, I'm going to put the money aside so I know but when. It's a matter of when that happens, am I able to make it? And when I got tired in my marriage, 935.48, like, to me, I was like, well, cool. Well, shit, I just need to move some numbers around and made it easy. And I shifted. And that shift opened me up to a whole new world because I wasn't devastated. That's why people now look at me and they be like, you're divorced? Yeah, been divorced, been separated for whatever. Because I didn't have to pivot. So, what do y'all think about paying like 50% or how engaged financially? I mean, I feel like right now in this world, even if you make 6 figures, I dated somebody who made 6 figures, you know what I'm saying? And it's still, hey, you got one meal, I got another. It's real out here. Like, I still feel like as women, we need to understand that men have needs, men have wants. They need to feel the same way we feel too. They want to be appreciated at the same time. I don't mind splitting bills, paying for things or anything like that. I mean, what's your guys' opinion on that?
Because I say bring back the men that will do the unexpected.
Keisha, eggs is $100 right now.
So, and what I mean by that is, if he's always treating me to dinner, right? I'm going to always make sure the house is clean, right? When he doesn't have his trip days, right? But not even just outside of domestication or whatever, because I do expect the reciprocity for that too. You know, that's not going to be all me, because that's not a balance. And in life, right? is it Taoism or Confucianism, Eightfold Path? It's all about a balance in your path, right? When you focus on your path, right, your expectations will become his expectations and vice versa, because that's how you complement each other, right? And so that becomes a duality.
Mhm.
And I believe in your soulmate, that's how you become one.
I think
You
I
know,
would
you see what
definitely
I'm
agree with.
saying?
Oh, I definitely agree with that because I think if you figure out that you have the same goal, you're gonna work. You Nobody should
Together,
ever
right?
have to keep looking down to pick somebody up in a relationship
Listen,
because if you do, you're never gonna get to the top.
Exactly.
And for us, I think that's what I mean. Could he make it? Maybe something happened, but
God forbid.
that's an unwritten thing that
Yeah.
he doesn't take care of that. Why? Because of his foundation.
Yeah.
mm,
Everything was taken care.
Mm.
His dad just came in, didn't do much, but dad got hurt. So then the roles were reversed, and he became the cooker. He became the house cleaner. He became this and that while she worked.
Right.
So, and he saw that.
Right.
First it was him,
mhm.
then it was her.
Yeah.
So it is a choice that I don't work, um, that I do not have to. Um,
Well, you're retired.
For people, we still work.
Right.
You can
Yeah.
still work. Yeah.
but so is he.
Mhm.
So that was just one of the things. Nope, I
Yeah.
didn't need to cook.
Right.
I didn't clean.
Right.
Run these
And
kids
then
around everywhere.
that's still a mutual agreement
Hmm.
that you both are comfortable with, because he compliments your happiness and you compliment his happiness. You
Listen, he
know.
knew what he was getting into.
Okay. All right.
I have a
Right.
long leash.
Okay.
Very long leash. Okay, so dang, we're gonna do like 8 episodes into this one little one. No, but it's kind of cool. All right, so last episode. After a relationship is over, how do you keep that legacy going, right? And that is,
Co-parenting.
it's not just, it's co-parenting. How do you co-parent effectively? Um, these relationships now come already pre-made with families, right? So the last episode on the podcast, my ex Ray was on there, and we dated in our 20s. I had kids. He had custody of his brothers. To this day, we are both involved. We're cordial with each other. We are the best of friends. People are actually stunned, that we have a bond like that. And I am going to be a staple or an example of, I was brought into some kid's life and he was brought into some kid's life. And regardless of what happened between him and I, we left a mark
Right.
on these children.
Well, that's
right?
the way it's
Supposed to be, correct. But
should be.
after love, what we don't realize that we still play an instrumental role in those legacy keepers' lives, right? So it's funny. I was able to see one of the young brothers that I helped raise with my ex, and talks about me all the time. The way I cooked, what I cooked. He's married with kids now. Here I am, many years later. We're friends on social media. I get to see his kids and stuff like that, and I'm like, wow, I would have never known that what I did 20 years ago plays such a pivotal role in that. And I think that we don't realize that after we intentionally choose not to love someone anymore. And I think that's the point. When you intentionally choose not to love someone anymore, you don't realize the damage you can do when you don't show up, or the damage you do when you don't let people still play a role. If they still want to be a part of those kids' lives, if they still want to be part of anybody's life. Perfect example. I have been divorced from your cousin for 2 years. We have been separated for 4, divorced for 2. This is my girl. This is not my real cousin, but I tell everybody she's my cousin. A marriage, like, she's my daughter's godmother. I'm the godmother of her kids. Like, it is just because
One of my daughters.
I don't love him anymore. We have footprints within each other that is played. When Nevaeh has stuff going on with school, this is Miss Academic right here. She just has conversations with Nevaeh that I let them have because that's her footprint.
Yeah.
And hey, you talk to your Aunt Keisha today? That's who you need to have a conversation with, because from day one, she has been, what books have you read? Da, 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 da. Hey, she's instilled Google scholarships. Like, all the kids know this is Google academics right here. That is her footprint. And no matter what, she has never steered that path, steered away from that path. I think us as adults, we lose that. We just focus on, hey, I don't want to be with you no more. Dude, it's been like 5 to 8 years. What do you mean? I got kids. I got this. You got kids. We've been doing family vacations together. Like, I'm not saying come down over for Thanksgiving, but what I'm saying is it's okay to strip yourself from the adult.
Right.
What about the children? Even though that is.
Well, I agree 100%.
And that is why we have all the freaking craziness we have going on. All these pre-mates families and adults, they don't walk into relationships with purpose, or they don't understand the purpose of why they're going into relationships. And then when it doesn't work, they're like, oh, well, I'll move on. What?
Because I feel like society has made it easier for divorce than it is to be friends.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but
It's like advertised.
yeah, like it and it's crazy. And why? You know, can you imagine the life of these children if everybody did get along?
Yeah.
Gosh.
It would be amazing. It would be beautiful. But because 2 people can't get along, or one refuses to get along, or I'm still mad at you because of something you did in 5th year of our marriage.
Right.
We've been divorced 30 years. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
It goes back to the original. Stop holding grudges.
Yeah.
Stop doing this.
Right.
Stop doing that, you know. And it's a shame that it will only be done when someone's health
Correct.
is in trouble, or someone has a health issue and they're like, I gotta make amends. I have to do this. I have to do that. Why couldn't you do it 10 years earlier?
Right.
It's not important to you.
And unfortunately, not everyone has established emotional intelligence, right?
Correct.
So emotional intelligence means to put your feelings, your grudges to the side and do what's best for the well-being of the child.
Child didn't
Right.
ask for it.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when we value
No edits.
when we value being a legacy holder and our children being our evolution, some things are uncompromised, right? So going back to having a foundation, going back to breaking generational curses, going back to keeping the lines of communication open in a relationship, right? Walking in purpose, right?
Yep.
So your purpose is the well-being of the child. So I'm going to be emotionally intelligent and say co-parenting is necessary, and we're going to make this work. Sisterhood with as sister wives shouldn't be rare, but
Should be a thing.
that exemplifies emotional intelligence. Yes.
Mhm.
So some things are uncompromised, you know,
Okay.
because our children are our legacies as well, right?
But you know what? Sometimes people have so much dislike for the other parent or person that they wish bad on them so much so that they are blinded to emotional intelligence.
So
Mine
that
done it.
sounds like rage and anger,
Right.
and
Some people are just
that's
shocked
that's
into
when God
reality.
just handles things. And if you're good enough, God will let you watch.
And
You
I
just
have
wait,
watched, baby.
wait on it.
That's all you do.
I have
You get to
watched.
wait on it,
Yeah.
like
All right. Well, time is flying. We're gonna go into this
Yeah.
last one. So we
Okay.
talked about communication, emotions,
Yep.
and things like that. I ended
1%.
1%. Yeah, and we could divvy a little more next episode into this, but I ended the last episode with talking about mental health and legacy, right? And I think everything that we sat there and talked about with ending, the issues that we have with people or whatever, I think communication is a huge thing. And I came across this podcast where this guy was like, his friend was going through something, and he assumed it was like a normal conversation between them. And, he was like, well, why didn't you tell me you was going through this? And the friend was like, I did. And then the guy was like, well, I went back through my text messages, and I'm like, he's reading the text messages like, hey, how are you? You want to come over for dinner? Like, da-da-da-da-da. Regular text messages that you and I probably have like all the time, right? He couldn't decipher that those messages meant something, like that person needed more. And even when we're going through everything that we're going through, are we able to decipher when somebody needs to talk or get in there, right? Now, I can say that I am blessed to have some really amazing friends, like to where my number pops up on their phone and they say hello, and they could tell by my breathing or with my hey, Tanisha, pull over. Like, that's what it is. But I'm blessed to have that. And you're talking about, I have 20 plus years of,
Right.
Now we're in these days where these are newly formed friendships and what stuff. And mental health is like really big. I preach it to everybody. Go talk to somebody, because you don't know everything. And sometimes you don't need to know everything. You just need to get it out, right? And my biggest thing is, do we have that foundation or that capability to know when somebody needs help? So in this particular podcast, him and the friend came up with this thing of, do you have, I think it's 7 minutes or 8 minutes. So you have 7 minutes. And that means, hey, I need to stop what I'm doing because this person is reaching out. I think maybe, and I'm just saying maybe, and looking back, I can tell you I've been through some stuff in life that I have picked the phone up and called people, and I really needed them. And they're like, hey, and how many times I called you in the taxi cab, right? You know what I'm saying? And I might have really wanted to talk to you, and I'd be like, she's busy, so I'm gonna deal with it on my own. I go about my business, Or I could have wanted to reach out to you, and you're like, oh, I'm doing X, and then I'm like, I know she's busy, so she can't really talk right now. Then you're not thinking anything of it. You're just thinking, hey, T just wants to sit there and talk, right? What if I really needed you guys? Right. How? I think us as humans, we need to have those intentional relationships with our friends to say, I know we talk, and we have redundant conversations with girlfriends, with family members all the time, where, oh, we're going to sit and talk about Jim. Jim didn't come home last night. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
But what if I'm at my tipping point where I'm like, yo, Jim didn't come home last night, and when he get home, we about to fight, and 911 needs to be called. Like, or I'm over it. Or maybe Jim hit me again. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think we need to do those check-ins a little more with our friends and be more intentional with the, hey, you good? Like, I noticed you called me last week and I was kind of busy. Like, hey, what's going on? Everything's good. Anything out the ordinary, have those key phrases. Not even just for us, but for our kids. I know I blow my child off sometimes, and I'm gonna admit it. Work, I sit in traffic for an hour and a half, 2 hours. Sometimes get stuck in the tunnel, and when I come home, I'm more intentional with I will not cook and just DoorDash something to say, hey, how was your
Right.
day? Right? Now I do it because I went through a divorce and I understood that she was affected by some things more that I couldn't control. But when I had all the kids in the house, I didn't do it. I was just like,
Right.
I'm tired. I'm done.
Right.
There was no purpose like in it. My oldest is about to be 26. To sit and have conversations with him, I missed the mark on a lot of things, right? So now I try to fix that in my legacy to have those conversations with my daughter now to say, okay, I can put it all aside and no, what's going on? Are you gonna cut? Nope. Let's roll. Like, what you need to talk about? We're missing it. Do you have that in your village? Like, do you have that in your village?
I will always be able to tell just by the reactions when they come in. And I think that I make a conscious effort to say, hey, you need to chat, talk, or whatever. I'm here. Just let me know. You know,
But do you have that to when you're the superhero and always there for everybody else? Now, when you pick up the phone on that end,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah, I think I do. But I think
because she's spicy, she's a firecracker, so
think
people know what she
that
wants to say.
I will let you know, hey, I need to talk. Like,
Right.
so I let the person know, like, hey, like, what are you doing right now? I
Gotcha.
need to talk.
Okay.
So I think that's different for me. You know what I mean? Because I do that. I put that up front. You know,
Yeah.
what are you doing? Are you busy?
Right.
Usually I think it's, are you busy? And that's, you know, the indicator of,
I need you.
yeah.
So mine's is a little bit more pressured, you know, because of my tight schedule. So I'm like checking now. Are you sure everything is okay? So then on my one day off, I'm like, okay, family meeting.
Yeah.
A whole week has gone by. What's going on with you?
Okay.
Right? So my children will advocate for themselves when they need something.
Yeah.
Right?
They all
So
do.
it's me demanding the check-in because I have the free time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Well, I have to honestly say they do check on me when they in the mood.
For kids.
When they're in the mood,
Yeah.
you know? And our family gatherings, you know, are to the point where they're very even though they're sporadic, I would say they know they're intentional. So you're gonna make that time for it. There's not gonna be any question about scheduling or saying I can't make it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, we check in.
Okay. Glad to see. Well, on that note, we're going to check out because it's time for dinner.
And the
And,
sun is setting.
The sun is
Look at that
setting.
beautiful sunset.
It's Fat Tuesday. We're going to get us some charbroiled oysters and hang out.
Fat Tuesday, happy Mardi Gras.
Happy Mardi Gras. And she puts her hands up. Thank you for joining in, and we will talk to you guys next time.